Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another Marvel Legendary discussion video, and pretty sure y'all know why you're here at this point because I just posted stuff in the Discord group and people who are in the tournament, so I don't think I need to do a big intro, basically. So anyways, just shout out thanks to everybody, Captain Moidredka, Kyla, Bageltop Games, everybody who's helping run in the Discord, participating in the tier list that's going up there every single day, which I post up, and I'm happy to do so. We're actually wrapping it up, which is pretty crazy. I'm so excited for it. We got through every single hero and ranked them. We're just going back to the core set and just kind of doing a quick little re-rank just to see where they'll land. But hey, guys, we're here for the winter tournament, week number 4. Really excited to do the breakdowns with you guys this week. Just a quick update on me. I did actually lose my lost in week 3. Unfortunately, it just took me a little too long. I did get fifth out of 10, but I was just a few turns too long. Basically, it was a tough setup. I really stalled and I just couldn't pull it together, unfortunately. But that does mean I'm just down in the loser bracket, so I'm not completely eliminated out of the game. So I have a chance to work my way through the losers bracket and be able to get up into the winners bracket again for the full thing. So I'm excited. Let's see what we can do. Okay, entering winter tournament week number 4. There's only 4 pods we're actually going to be going over. These, I believe this is the only winners pod right now. All of these players right here. Congrats to all of them. I believe they're all undefeated. And then these are the lower pods that we're going through. And I'm going to be in pod number 24. There I am, right there. And yeah, let's get going. Let's start with pod number 23. Just a quick rundown. They're going to have a Nimrod Super Sentinel as the mastermind, Fragmented Realities as the scheme, which is a real doozy. Just so y'all know, it's absolutely brutal. We have Sentinel Territories as the villains, Scrolls, and Emissaries of Evil, Handages for the Henchman group. For the heroes, we get to select 2 of them, and we have Wolverine from the core set, Magic from the Secret Wars Volume 1, and Wolverine X-Force to go up against these guys. So let's just go through all the quick setups. So special setup instructions: shuffle the villain deck, then split it evenly into villain decks for each player, then shuffle 2 twists into each player's villain deck. So we'll go over that when we get to the scheme. For special rules, when playing 2 cards from the villain deck on a twist, resolve all outstanding effects from playing card 1 before playing card 2. Read more here. When asked to interact with the villain deck, players may choose which villain deck they use. Otherwise, use your villain deck, such as instructed by a scheme twist. Sets that are allowed are going to be Core, Dark City, and Secret Wars Volume 1. Pretty narrow choices right here, and these are some of the more popular expansions. So there might actually be quite a few heroes in this setup already. Well, I guess we've only done 3 weeks, so really there's a maximum of 6, possibly more if you swap between attempts. But we're kind of getting to that point where since there's not a ton of expansions in sets that are allowed, there's a chance you're going to run into a lot of heroes that's like, I actually can't pick this hero because I've already chosen them. So this is kind of where your choices previously might be catching up with you. So we'll see how that goes. For the officers deck, it's just standard, same as sidekicks, wounds, and these are all the bystanders you can rescue in this setup. All right, let's jump in and see what we can do. We're going to move into Secret Wars Volume 1. Let's take a look at Nimrod as a mastermind. See what this guy is up to. I've lost to this guy quite a few times because, well, we'll see. So 6 HP, which is pretty dang low, but you can't fight Nimrod unless you made at least 6 recruit this turn. So the natural kind of cadence that you do in Marvel Legendary is you want to KO all of your recruit, basically. First, you get a bunch of recruit, use that to get a bunch of other heroes, and then you start KOing the recruit so you can focus in on the attack, and then you can take out the mastermind. In this situation, you want to keep a nice little balance between them so you can actively hit Nimrod because you have to do that 6 recruit and the 6 attack in order to fight him. So what we're kind of looking for in that situation is we want cards that are versatile, have the versatile keyword. They can either produce recruit or attack, or we want some split cards, which I don't believe it exists in any of those sets. So it's really just down to the versatile cards that we're really looking forward for. So when Master Strike is drawn, each player who does not reveal a tech card must choose recruit or attack and discard all cards with that icon. So sometimes that isn't too terrible, honestly. Lots of times if you end up with a handful of recruit, you can just say attack and then you're set and ready to go. You don't have to discard anything. But it would be good if we just had some tech cards we can reveal just to prevent that from happening in the first place. So just to keep that in mind. Okay, let's take a look at our scheme, which is going to be Fragmented Realities. And let's see, it's going to be down here. And this one's kind of a doozy for sure. So, okay, where are you? There you go, Fragmented Realities. Okay, so we're going to add an extra villain group. Shuffle the villain deck, then split it as evenly as possible into a villain deck for each player. Then shuffle 2 twists into each player's villain deck. So only four scheme twists total, but the normal city does not exist. So there's no sewers, there's no rooftops, there's no bridge. Instead, each player has a different dimension in front of them with one city space. Villains and bystanders from your villain deck enter your dimension. You can fight villains in any dimension. Okay, so player 1's going to have one city space in front of them. Player 2 is going to have a city space in front of them, which what that mainly means is there's going to be quite a lot of escapes because you basically have one turn to fight every single villain that's going to pop out. So escape effects are going to be triggering a lot more often. We'll have to see with our villains and see what they're up to. But as of right now, that's kind of the main thing that's going to be common. And when a twist is drawn, you have to play 2 cards from your villain deck, which is going to be absolutely brutal. It's basically a guaranteed escape from at least one of the villains. If it's empty, you're probably going to flip a villain and then flip another one, and it's going to push that one out. So Evil's going to win when the number of non-gray heroes in the KO pile is 5 times the number of players. So that's mainly going to be through escape villains, because when they escape, you have to KO a card from the HQ. And since we're playing 2-player, that means if that happens 10 times, if there's 10 non-gray heroes in the KO pile, then we're out and we lose. So this one's pretty dang brutal, I would say. I think this one is there's a lot of pressure to have a lot of attack early, so you can be fighting those villains before they escape. So there's definitely that pressure. We want to keep the balance of recruit and attack, but we do need to focus a little bit more on attack in the early game so that we can actually fight these villains before they're escaping and KOing stuff. Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to be able to refresh the HQ frequently though with that. I mean, you only have 10 shots with it, but at least you can use it to kind of craft the HQ just a little bit so that you can take advantage of that. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for in terms of our scheme and our mastermind. Let's just do a quick little rundown of the villains that we're going to be dealing with. The first one up is going to be the Sentinel Territories. So there's not too much we have to stress about in this one because Cape Pride and Colossus here don't have any escape abilities, so there's nothing we have to stress about too much. Rachel Summers does have an escape ability, but it's just all villains, and the Mastermind get +1 attack for the turn, which actually isn't going to have really any effect. It might mess up your turn with Nimrod, maybe, but because it's going to give a +1 going from 6 to 7, which isn't really too terrible. And honestly, the Wolverine Future Past, his escape is that you have to do a cross-dimensional Wolverine rampage, but we already have 2 hero sets of Wolverine cards, so we'll probably be able to prevent that wound. So nothing we have to stress about in terms of the Sentinel Territories here. Let's take a look at our next one, which is going to be over here in Dark City. It's going to be the Emissaries of Evil. And these guys can be a little bit more difficult because they all have ambush abilities. When they enter the city, you're going to reveal the top card of the villain deck, and each one is a little bit different. If for example, Gladiator is going to capture the bystander if you reveal that. The Egghead is going to play an extra villain from the villain deck, things like that. So they're definitely a little bit more difficult, I would say. Rhino is going to hand you a wound if he ends up escaping, which isn't fun at all. But so yeah, they're definitely the more difficult ones. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where you can't really do too much about it because they all have ambush abilities. So as soon as they pop in, the ability is going to go off. We can't prevent it really in any way. Let's see. The other one is going to be the Scrolls. And just as a quick reminder of these guys, so most of the time these guys are a benefit because they're going to be taking heroes out of the HQ and putting it into the city. And then when you fight them, you get to gain that hero from the one that they stole. And there's some KO abilities in there. There's Pie Box going to let us gain heroes from the HQ, things like that. So one thing that's important to remember is that because there's a lot of these villains who are going to be escaping very frequently. So for Scroll Shapeshifters and Scroll Queen Veronica, if they escape and they have a hero attached to them, which they will, that hero is going to go into the escape pile along with them. They're not going to be going into the KO. They don't get separated and one goes to the KO pile because that would lead to every time a scroll escaped, that hero that is stolen would go into the KO pile, increasing the chances of you losing a lot quicker. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I would say it isn't absolutely critical, but usually when you fight the scrolls, sometimes it's nice to just have a handful of lower costing heroes. That way, when they take those, they're not that difficult to take out of the city and you can gain them a lot easier. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. And then we have the Handages when we fight them again, recruit, something we don't really need to stress about too much. Let's take a look at our heroes that we have set up. First one we have up is going to be Wolverine from the core set. And he's all about card drawing. He does have a way to KO wounds, which is really great. He doesn't have a way for us to gain wounds. Lots of times when you have a hero card, that the whole shtick of him is that, oh, I want to gain wounds so I can use those in effective ways. So lots of times you want to have another hero who can actually provide the wounds, basically, or you can provide them for yourself so you can kind of time it a little better. But he mainly just wants us to have a lot of instinct cards so that Keen Senses and Frenzy Slashing can just draw us a ton of cards. He's an absolute powerhouse of a hero. Really, you can focus a whole deck just on him and you'll do just fine, just because you're going to be drawing absolutely so many cards. So I would say we actually set up pretty good because all of his cards are are instinct, but it would be nice to have maybe one more common card that's an instinct card just to kind of work off of his cards, I would say. Now let's take a look at our next one, which is going to be Magic from Secret Wars Volume 1. And I played a lot. Actually, we're doing a hero league for the hero pass that are up on the Discord channel, and we went through Magic, so I played with her quite a bit. And she has kind of a little kind of the opposite, pretty different from what Wolverine wants. Magic wants us to have a covert card so we can gain extra sidekicks with rather than New Mutants. She wants us to have some range cards so we can activate Travel through Limbo. And then her uncommon really deals around us gaining sidekicks so that we can every single sidekick we play, she gets +1 attack for every time when that card is played. So we do have the kind of this focus of getting sidekicks. What's kind of nice about this is we only have access to standard sidekicks, which are considered the most powerful of all of them. So if you have that spare recruit, I mean, just go for it. I think you're gonna be pretty happy with those sidekicks because you're gonna be drawing a bunch of extra cards with them. So yeah, we don't have any instinct, or we don't have any covert or range other range cards. So that's something we might need to provide ourselves. The next one is gonna be Wolverine from Dark City, which is right here. Let's see. And he's a powerhouse as well. So we have Animal Instincts, which wants us to have covert instinct cards, and the Wolverine from the core set basically provides that. And then Sudden Ambush gets plus extra attack if we draw a card. No Mercy can go in either deck because it draws a card and KOs something. So the Wolverine from the core set and the Dark City one actually mesh extremely well. So if you just had a whole deck about Wolverine, that'd be really great. The main problem with these three heroes is none of them provide recruit, which is I got a feeling that might be a design choice. So yeah, all three of these don't have any type of recruit available. They don't provide any of it. So the main focus that we need to do is we need to bring in some heroes that actually have recruit cards so we can use those to fight Nimrod. So yeah, let's see. So we want to get probably some tech cards. If we can keep an eye out for some versatile cards, that would be good. Escapes are going to happen pretty frequently, but we actually don't have a ton of escape effects that we have to stress about too much. And we do want some recruit focused heroes so that we can actually recruit stuff. Honestly, out of all of those, especially the tech and versatile and some recruit, actually, I think Domino is actually exactly what we want because she's she's cheap. She has a lower cost in terms of she has a 1-drop here with Lucky Break. Rate for anything is only 3, but this gives you versatile, so you can do recruit or attack, which is great. It also provides tech cards, so we can use that to fight against Nimrod. I mean, overall, she's really an amazing hero, and I think this is going to be a great setup for her personally to go up against him. So that's kind of my first recommendation. I think another great one you can end up using, which she basically has versatile in a sense, is Proxima Midnight. She has covert instinct cards, which is great. Those will fit really nicely into a Wolverine deck if need be. But she yeah, like General of the Black Order was going to be extremely easy to activate, and it's going to give you 3 attack and 3 recruit, which is really, really awesome. And overall, she's also just a very powerful hero. You really don't need a lot to keep her activated, especially because both of her common cards are instinct, and her uncommon needs an instinct in order to activate it. So she's very nice and self-contained, I would say. And just generally, she's pretty powerful. Even though she doesn't do anything really all that fancy, she basically just provides recruit and attack and really good values. In terms of providing some support for Magic, Black Widow's Black Widow. Black Bolt actually isn't terrible, I would say. He has a hybrid covert and range card, which fits pretty well with Magic because that's exactly the 2 classes she needs. He also provides some recruit boosts in terms of Speak No Words, already providing 2 recruit there, but also Silence is Gold. Then you get choose a card you played with no rules text, so you get its recruit and attack again. So you could reactivate it to do Speak No Words. Most of the time it's just going to be doing one of your gray heroes, which isn't incredible, but it does provide 4 attack right off the bat, which is good. So I think Black Bolt could be an interesting one. And also the thing that's nice about Black Bolt is also he's not a hero that really synergizes extremely well. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, I want a whole deck that's all about cards that don't have any rules text. Like, that's usually isn't something you're really going to build around. So if you could spend a pick on Black Bolt here, which I think he's going to do fine in this type of scenario, and then that you could save a stronger pick for maybe later down the line. So I think Black Bolt could be a decent pick for right here. Let's see. Also, just a side note, I think just don't be afraid to buy officers in this situation, especially if you're going like a full Wolverine deck, because that's mainly going to be focused around attack cards. Don't be afraid to grab a couple officers and stick them in your deck so you can use that in order to fight Nimrod. Like a couple other just kind of other mentions, I would say these are kind of ones I didn't really have a strong pull towards, but it could be possible. Like Lady Thor provides a lot of recruit. All of her 2 common cards both provide recruit, and then you can kind of weaponize that recruit by converting it into attack or card draw if you make enough of that. So that could be potential. I don't think it's too strong, but I think that's something that you could definitely keep an eye out on. I would say Dark City, you can go down even to Elektra, which wouldn't be which I think would be fine. You do have a covert card with magic. You have a covert card with Wolverine from Dark City, so you can activate Ninjutsu pretty frequently. Plus, an Ninjutsu does just draw a card, so and replaces itself, so it's not a risky pick at all. I would say she doesn't have a ton of cards with side blades to get like a ton of attack out of it, but it does just provide you with 4 right off the bat, which is great. Actually, Domino does have a 1-cost card, so that fits in pretty well with this. So yeah, I think Elektra could be a decent pickup in this situation. Let's see. I think that's basically all the ones I had available. I mean, like Captain America from the core set could be fine as well, but just because he's generically good. All you need is a bunch of different colors, and at this rate, you do have a lot of instinct cards from like Wolverine Dark City, but Wolverine Dark City provides 3 different colors. Magic provides 2 different colors. You can find another hero that could provide even more than that. Maybe some multi-class cards like from Black Bolt could be pretty decent. So like a hero like well, here I guess I should pull them up while I was talking about them, but like Captain America from core set could be a pretty decent pick, I would say. So so yeah, that's all my suggestions I would say for pod number 23. Good luck to everybody, and I hope you guys have a legendary game. Oh my gosh, he said it. I'm so smart. Anyways, let's scooch on over to pod number 24. Blackjack Vulture in the Dead of Night. Blackjack Vulture in the Dead of Night. I see what you did there. Okay, this is actually going to be my pod, so we'll be talking about some of my thoughts on it. You know, this is one I really spent a little bit of extra time on just to make sure I got it right. Okay, so pod number 24. First up, I guess I need to get this set up, so I'll be back in just a second. Pod number 24, so we have Adrian Toomes as the mastermind. We have Wager at Blackjack for Heroes for the scheme. For the villain side, we have Salvagers, Demons of Limbo, and Savage Land Mutates for the henchman group. I thought it was Mutants Forever, by the way. For the hero and ally deck, we can choose 2, but we also have Werewolf by Night, Princess Shuri, High-Tech Spider-Man, Morbius, and Sunspot for the pre-selected ones, which is, by the way, just staring at that, by the way, when I saw that, I was like, holy poop, like that is just a powerhouse. Like, I don't even know if I want to add it anymore because that's just a really strong. All those heroes are just really, really good. For the special rules, ambush abilities on heroes do not trigger when revealed by the scheme, only when they enter the HQ on your turn. Waking Nightmares are not optional. You must discard a non-great hero if you have one and then draw a card. Reminder, you may not select a core set hero for this pod. See the sets of allowed column to the right for your hero pool. So let's just keep in mind, like even though Savage Land Mutates is in the hero setup, that doesn't mean core set is actually available to them. There probably is just a lack of, I think there's just a lack of, actually isn't any henchmen actually in this group, I believe. So core set's kind of the default because everybody who's in the tournament does have the core set that you kind of need that in order to play the game. So just as something to keep in mind. All right, I'm gonna get some things set up and I'll see you in just a second. Sets that are allowed are gonna be Spider-Man, Homecoming, The New Mutants, Black Panther, and Midnight Suns. Okay, let's take a look at our mastermind. It's Adrian Toomes. He has 5 attack, which is pretty low, but he does have double striker. So that means his HP is gonna go up by Striker is he gets +1 attack for every single master strike that's in the KO pile. Double Striker means he's going to get +2 for every single one. So his HP is going to be increasing as the game goes on every time a master strike is actually put in the KO pile. It's important, and so what that tells us is we want to hit him hard, we want to hit him fast, we want to try and take him out before his HP gets too high, because that means he can get up to 15, which is pretty dang high. Once you cross that 11-12 mark is when it gets a little rough. For Master Strike, starting from the sewers, each villain in the city uses its escape ability. So that does, I don't think there is any heroes that can prevent escape abilities. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we want to be able to focus on those villains when they pop up. If they have an escape ability, we want to take them out as soon as possible for sure, so we don't have to deal with all those extra escape abilities that could mess us up. Let's take a look at our scheme, which is going to be in the Midnight Suns release. Well, pretty dang solid expansion, by the way. Let's see. We got Midnight Massacre. What's going on? It's a Wager. There we go. Wager at Blackjack for Heroes Souls. So there's going to be 11 twists in the villain deck, and then we're going to add 2 extra heroes for a total of 6. When a twist is drawn, reveal cards from the hero deck, adding up to the, basically you play Blackjack. So you're going to reveal cards from the hero deck until you get close to 21. You can stop whenever, but the mastermind is going to play as well, and he's going to go to at least 17 and past that. If you end up winning, you may gain one of the revealed heroes that cost 6 or less from the cards that were revealed at the time. If the Mastermind does win, you stack one of these heroes next to the scheme, and if that happens 4 times, you're going to end up losing. So just something to keep in mind there. So this is kind of more of a gimmicky deck, I would say, but it is important to kind of keep an eye on costs of hero cards. Just as a quick rundown, we have a lot of 2 costs in the heroes that are pre-selected, which is pretty good because that way you can kind of incrementally go up, and you're not going to end up with a ton of moments where you flip the top card and it's like, oh, it's an 8 cost, it's 7 cost, or a 5 cost. It's not a big number. Most of the time when you flip over, it's probably going to be a 2 cost. So you can kind of get closer and closer to 21 to kind of guarantee the win. But this scheme is kind of what I consider a gimmick scheme. It doesn't really have a strong effect on gameplay at all, but it is kind of like this little mini game you have to play along with it. So there's not really anything we can do. Maybe we want to lean towards some lower costing heroes, maybe, but I don't think we have to go too hard on that, I would say. Let's take a look at our villain groups. First up, we have the Salvagers, which are going to be over here. So we have the Salvagers here, and they ask quite a bit of us, actually. Let's see, what are we going off of? Oh yeah, so they all have escape abilities, which is going to work very well with Adrian Toombs. But all of them do ask us to have a variety of different hero classes. So like Shocker number 1, we have to reveal an instinct card. For hybrid alien tech, it's range cards or tech cards in terms of the Tinkerer. So so we want to be able to have access to all those hero classes. We can't prevent these abilities from going off because more than likely they're not going to go off just once. They're probably going to go off twice. So that does put a little pressure on us to make sure we have the right kind of villain, right kind of hero cards. And let's take a look at our other one, which is the Demons of Limbo, I believe. Let's see, those are the Hellions. Demons of Limbo. So there's not a ton of stuff we can do in order to prevent all this from happening, but they do all have the ability of Moonlight and Sunlight, and where they get different boosts or different abilities, things like that, depending on if the majority of the hero cards in the HQ are odd or if they're even. So what that tells us is we do want to have the ability to kind of manipulate the HQ so that we can kind of control what's going to happen when one of these demons show up, or if we need to find a way to fight them in a different strategy, depending on if it's Moonlight or Sunlight. So just something to keep in mind. But other than that, there's not a ton we can do about them. And then for the henchmen, it's the Savage Land mutates. When we fight them, we get to draw an extra card, but I don't think we have to go over that too hard. We do have a handful of heroes we got to get through. So let's take a look at Werewolf by Midnight. He is one of the hero cards from the Midnight Suns expansion. And what's really great about him, he does actually have ways to manipulate the HQ. So we already have a nice little tick on our list of things we're going to need in order to take out this villain setup. He does ask us for his uncommon card does want us to have an instinct card, so maybe a slight lean into that, but it's not too crucial, I would say. I think Starlit Path is going to be providing that one just fine. But yeah, overall, he's just very strong. He has a lot of great abilities, either drawing cards, getting extra attack, ways to KO cards. Like I said, Release the Beast. His instinct abilities, you get both abilities. You get the Sunlight ability of +3 recruit, which is great, and then Blood Frenzy, which is just amazing. So yeah, Werewolf by Night is a very strong hero, and I'm glad that he's just in the setup. He's not one we have to choose and spend our credit in terms of using him. Let's move over to the Black Panther expansion. We're going to do Princess Shuri here. Another great strong hero. She does have an ambush ability on her first common card, which is draw a card. So if we have a tech card, when that card enters the HQ, we can reveal it and draw an extra card, which is great. We get empowered by tech, so that is a lean towards that. We definitely want to have a mass amount of tech cards. So something to keep in mind. Both of her common cards do that, but Kimono Beads does you get empowered by the color of your choice, which is really nice. We want to kind of focus in on a specific hero color so we can kind of maximize that, hit a point where the HQ is just full of that hero class, and then every time you play Kimono Beads, you just get a ton of recruit and things like that. And if it's tech, that's even better. But yeah, overall, no, Princess Shuri is another very strong hero. She does want us to have, she wants to have tech, and she wants us to have ranged, and she also wants us to kind of be focused in on specific hero classes so we can get more from each of the empowered abilities that are on her. Okay, let's take a look at High Tech Spider-Man. All of his cards cost 2, which is just fine. And we have Advanced Targeting System. We want us to have a tech card, so we can either reveal the top card of the deck and draw it if it costs 2, or we can play it if it's activated. We get to just draw the card, which is a pretty good setup. I would say Spider-Man has kind of that ability of like, oh, we want to be able to draw cards that have cost 2 or less, get extra attack for that, things like that. But I think this is a really nice middle ground where it's like, okay, like if you do have a 2 costing card on top, you get to draw it, which is great, and then draw another card. But this is kind of the fail safe, I would say. Doesn't let's see, does want us to have covert and tech cards. So we have a nice little spread in terms of what all of our heroes are asking for us, but I feel like they actually are providing with each other fairly well. I would say we're gonna have to write the numbers down really quick, but like Spider Grip is supported through Princess Shuri, who provides 2 tech cards, I believe. Yeah, 2 tech cards. Yeah. And so I think he's actually pretty well set up, I would say, and we're gonna have to see if we have any covert cards coming up. But overall, great one. Danger Sense 3 is really nice in a setup like this. We can kind of push those Master Strikes down just a little bit, and delay them a little bit longer. Same with Scheme Twist and things like that. So I think that's a good trade-off and a pretty good card. Okay, let's switch over to Midnight Suns. We're going to talk about Morbius now, and he does provide us with 2 cover cards for high-tech weaponry, which is high-tech Spider-Man, which is good. He does have Blood Frenzy in multiple spots. He wants to have cover cards for Insatiable Craving, and his uncommon card does want us to have just a little bit of flexibility in terms of what happens with the HQ, and so far we have that provided already. But Morbius is another powerhouse, I would say. Actually, pretty much every single hero we've talked about is basically a powerhouse on their own. They just happen to all be on the same team, which is pretty dang solid. Okay, and the last one we're going to be talking about is going to be from the New Mutants expansion. It's going to be Sunspot. And he has mostly even number cards. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. So looking over at the numbers, there's a lot of even costing hero groups. So what we want to do is we want to bring in some odd ones so that we can actually get a little benefit from it being in Moonlight. And the other thing to note, usually hero cards that have Sunlight and Moonlight on them, usually the stronger version of it is in Moonlight. Especially except for some flavor choices, actually like a Sunspot here. The main kind of shtick with him, he wants us to stay in sunlight. Moonlight usually doesn't lead to too much, but his absorb radiation does let you manipulate the HQ. So I think we have enough of those common cards messing around with the HQ that we don't have to stress about it too much. But like I said, we do want a couple more odd hero cards so that we can actually use them in terms of our power level and from sunlight and moonlight, things like that. Okay, so I would say we're not really looking for too much. All the heroes we've talked about are pretty dang powerful. I think we just want to kind of balance it out just a little bit. So what we're kind of looking for is we want probably another instinct hero just to cover for Werewolf Midnight. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I feel like even the hero classes aren't exactly the most demanding of it because we have a decent spread. Looking at my little chart here. Okay, so I would say one hero that can solve some problems you're going to have is Wolfsbane. She does have a way to manipulate the HQ, which we want. She provides some instinct cards to activate Werewolf by Night's uncommon card, which is pretty good. And she also thrives in Moonlight. All of her hero cards do cost 3, so that is going to give us a nice little boost in terms of our stats. We can have a nice kind of 50-50 in terms of which side of Sunlight or Moonlight argument you land on. That way, like Wolfsbane and Sunspot can operate at their peak efficiency using their Sunspot brains and things like that. So yeah, and this one actually is this actually isn't a recommendation. This is more of a like, hey, don't think this is a good card because it's not in a good spot. And let's see, that's Peter Parker Homecoming here. There's just a lot of problems with it. All the cards give you 2, which is going to just increase the amount of even cards you have, which I don't think you really want at this point. He's also multiple colors, which makes things just a little more difficult in terms of, which doesn't really go well with the theme of empowerment from Princess Shuri. The danger sense on the cards are fine. They're not too crazy, I would say. But yeah, just kind of, I don't think this is actually a good hero set. I just spent a little bit of time looking at it and I was like, no, I can do this kind of Spider-Man thing. But overall, I just found a lot of negatives with it. Also of note, Happy Hogan was another hero that I was kind of looking at. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, his Watchful Eye, he's actually going to KO the strikes from happening. But if they're KO'd, they still go towards his striker ability. So you're just increasing his HP. But you could use this ability to KO those so you don't have to deal with the Master Strike abilities, which generally isn't too terrible, I would say. But yeah, just another kind of hero I was kind of considering thinking about, but I don't know if I'd recommend him or push you. Like, yeah, he's definitely going to be like a powerhouse for sure. Which is funny because I don't have a ton of recommendations. This was kind of one of the more difficult ones, I would say. I feel like the hero pool you have is already pretty dang strong. One thing you could go with Warlock, I would say, because it does give you a nice little boost to your tech cards, so you can use those in game just to activate things. You can have a little bit more flexibility in terms of what you empower with Princess Shuri, things like that. And overall, he's just a really great hero, I would say. Earthling's Choices is great because you can put it in either deck. It's just going to draw you a card, basically. So overall, I think this is overall, yeah, I think Warlock could be a decent pick there. And after that, there's just a lot of there's a lot of really strong heroes that just kind of stand on their own. They don't have to stress about too much. Like, I mean, Jonah Okoye here, just, I mean, she's just great drawing cards. She has a little bit of a flavor in terms of, she has a way of like KOing wounds and gaining shield officers, things like that. I think she could be a pretty good asset in this one. But yeah, like I said, overall, it's a lot of small sets that we have for this section, so it's a little limiting. It gives you less things to look at, but hopefully you can find a good synergy with them. So I think that's kind of what I'm going to leave you guys with this there. I wish I had a little bit more in terms of what I'm telling you, but like I said, the hero setup is actually pretty well set up, and I don't think there's a lot we can do to make it just like absolutely crazy amazing, you know, things like that. But yeah, good luck to everybody in pod number 24. Hope you have a great game ahead of you. Let's take a look at our next one, which is going to be pod number 25. It's called Let My Hidden People Go. And whoops, I got a little... All right, well, let's take a look at here at pod number 25. Just a note, this was a setup designed by Jean Sebastian, I believe. He took third place in the spring tournament of 2023. So that's kind of one of the awards you can get if you... place in the tournament. You can help to design one of the games for the next one. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm kind of interested to see if I can actually pull off and build one that's pretty good. Okay, so just a quick rundown. We got Exodus as the mastermind. We have Silence the Witnesses as the scheme. For the villain setup, we have Acolytes, the X-Men Noir, and we have Mr. Sinister clones in terms of the villains. For the hero side of things, we can select 2, and we have Invisible Woman, Kurth, something like that, and multiple mana already set up. Let's take a look at these things. So for special rules, so of note, we have Fear itself as one of the sets that are available, but we don't have villains. So that means actually there's a couple little special rules for this. So if a card effect would cause you to gain a Madam Hydra card, you get a shield officer instead. If a card effect would cause you to gain a new recruit, you get +1 attack instead. If a card effect mentions bindings and bindings, use wounds. The scheme counts any bystander in the escape pile, not just those put in there by the scheme. You may use shield and Hydra team logos interchangeably. So of note, kind of the biggest nerf I would say is if you have a card that gets you a new recruit, you get 1 attack, which is pretty big. It's a pretty big difference from what a new recruit is. So just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, that's just something. If you end up thinking like, oh, this hero will be pretty good because they give me a bunch of new recruits, I think they're going to be pretty dang nerfed in this situation. So let me just get some things set up and we'll get rolling. For the sets that are allowed, we do have Fantastic Four. Again, just so you know, Fantastic Four is going to pop up a ton in this because it's very popular, so a lot of people have it. It's just kind of funny. We have Fear itself, Noir, and Messiah Complex. Once again, just a bunch of small little box sets. So the heroes are a little bit narrower, but we do have four different options to go for. Standard and special officers, standard and ex-student sidekicks. We have standard wounds, and then a bunch of bystanders, actually quite a bit in this one, which is pretty interesting. Sometimes they're very, 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 very small, but a lot of these small box expansions came with a decent amount of bystanders to flesh that out a little bit. All right, let's take a look at Exodus here, just the normal one. He has 32 attack, which is a lot. That's probably the highest attack out of every single mastermind, but you can pay 3 recruit and shatter at any number of times and to shatter him. So which means his HP is going to be cut in half basically. So the first time you do it, it's going to go down to 16. If you do it 2 times, you get down to 8, which is usually isn't too terrible, I would say. I would say you just need to have that 6 recruits. So he kind of has the same thing as we're asking for Nimrod, actually. We want to keep that nice balance between attack and recruit. Things like that. For the Master Strike, we get to choose one of these 4 hero teams, which are all connected to the X-Men. Each player discards one of those heroes or gains a wound. So pretty simple Master Strike, something we don't have to stress about too much. But we do, if we can lean into one of those hero classes and make sure we don't gain wounds, that's always a positive. The main thing is just we do have to have that balance because I don't think there's any way we're going to get up to 32 attack without some serious Iceman stuff going on. So that should wrap that up here. Let's take a look at the scheme, which is going to be Silence the Witnesses from the Noir expansion. Let's see, there you are. For Silence the Witness, we have 6 twists. 6 twists. The scheme is going to capture 3 hidden witnesses. These are bystanders that you need to spend 2 recruit in order to rescue them, basically. If it already had any hidden witnesses, put those into the escape pile when 6 bystanders are in the escape pile. So we do need to keep up with those with with the hidden witnesses that are on this scheme pretty frequently. So we do kind of need to pause, spend all of our recruit on those, and hopefully we get some special bystanders off of that so we can get at least a little bit of benefits off of that. But this is this is a scheme that we can't do a ton about. We mainly just need to be able to keep track of how many witnesses are on the scheme and then spend the appropriate amount of recruit in order to rescue them. Let's take a look at some of our villains. First up, we do have the Acolytes from Messiah Complex, and they all kind of have a theme in terms of with Exodus is in terms of their attack values are pretty dang high, and you have different ways you can kind of shatter them to get their HP down to manageable size. The only one that really needs to be like random asks us to not have like covert tech and range so that we can actually hit him a lot easier, but his ability isn't too tough. I would say Frenzy is really, really hard because anytime you shatter her, you have to reveal the top card of the hero deck. If it's a strength card, you're going to gain a wound. If it's instinct card, the player to your right is going to gain a wound. So Frenzy is definitely a villain that's one to kind of worry about when she pops up, and if we can kind of lean slightly away from strength and instinct cards, I think that could help us out in terms of making sure we can take her out. Scooching back over to Noir, we do have X-Men Noir as the other villain group, and honestly, there are a lot of benefits. They have a lot of investigating for certain cards, investigating the hero deck when we fight them, things like that. Honestly, they're kind of they're not ones we have to stress about. The theme is really nice, though. By the way, I actually really enjoy this kind of X-Men Noir theme that they got going on. I believe I actually have this common book upstairs in my bedroom, now that I think about it. But X-Men Noir, we don't have to stress about them too much. In terms of the henchmen, we do have we have Sinister clones. Actually, we can pull those up. Okay, probably one of my favorite henchmen groups. I think that they've popped up quite a bit in this section because I think everybody just loves them so much. So when they come into the city, they're going to clone. So actually 2 copies are going to enter basically. You do get to shuffle a bystander into the villain deck though, just kind of keep the numbers the same. When we fight them, we get to clone the next hero we recruit is going to be, we can get to clone them as long as they're, recruit cost is 4 and under. So if we can maximize it by recruiting cards that cost 4 and we can get a copy of it, that's all the better. But just the big rough part is that when a Mr. Sinister clone comes into the city, that's going to bring along a friend, which is going to push the city, it's going to lead to escapes, which is generally not a good thing. So I would say kind of the main things we're looking for is we just need some heroes that can provide at least a little bit of recruit and maybe a little X-Men focus. But other than that, we don't have not a ton of asks in terms of the villain side of things. Let's take a look at our heroes. First up is going to be the Invisible Woman. Always good to see the Invisible Woman. She's actually a hero that I recommend pretty frequently to add into your setups, just because she's so powerful, especially Disappearing Act. Probably one of the most powerful KO cards out there. Being able to focus your recruit in order to KO other ones, which is just absolutely incredible. 4 of a Kind is pretty dang strong because it does give you +2 attack as long as you play another card that costs 4. And Invisible Woman only provides 4 costing cards in terms of her commons and uncommons, which is pretty great, and she can rescue some bystanders with Unseen Rescue, which isn't a huge deal, but it's great when you just have 2 extra recruit floating around. It's like, sure, why not? We'll rescue a bystander, maybe get a little benefit from it. But the only thing she really asks of us is to have some 4 costing cards, and I feel like she's pretty set up already just with her hero set, but it would be good to bring in 1 or 2 other common cards that cost 4. Okay, let's scooch over to the Fear itself one. We're going to go with Kurth, which is right here. He does have he has a thrown artifact, which will do +2 attack when thrown, but he also has Reach for Power. When it's played, reveal the top or bottom card of your deck. If it costs 4 or more, you get +2 recruit. So he also provides 2 common cards of 4. So I think Invisible Woman is pretty much set up well with that 4 of a kind, and also that's 4 common cards that cost 4, so we can kind of get a maximum value in terms of the cloning. We do now I think this does lead us to want a little bit more recruit power in there, because 4 drops are pretty hard. You usually can't recruit a 4 drop and then get a 3 drop or a 5 drop, because that would give you enough recruit in order to get like rare cards and things like that. So you might need to get some officers in this game just in case, but we'll see if we can find some hero cards that can fit pretty well with that theme. We want it to increase our recruit output. Last up, we do have Multiple Man from the Messiah Complex expansion. Where'd you go? There we go. And he has to do all with the number 4 as well. He provides, so yeah, there's just a lot of 4 costing cards, which is great. It works really well with Mr. Sinister. It works really well with Invisible Woman's a common card, things like that. But he does want, Multiple Man does want us to have instinct cards and tech cards, which as of right now, we don't have any of those. So we do want to have a little support for that, so we can actually start playing these and cloning them. Then we get extra benefits from having a bunch of them. We also have Tactical Formation 444. We get to draw a card with his Me, Myself, and I. And I think we're going to be able to trigger that pretty frequently with the hero setup we have so far. So yeah, I would say the only thing it's really asking us, we just want some tech cards and some instinct cards. And that's about it. But we do have a handful of choices here that I'm pretty happy about. Let's take a look at the Noir setup. So I would say one of the heroes you could potentially go with is actually Daredevil Noir. He does provide us with top deck manipulation, which is just fine. But he also has Listen for Heartbeats. We can investigate for a card that has a specific number. And with the amount of 4-drops we have, we could just name 4, and more than likely we're going to hit something. And it's even a 4-drop itself. But his uncommon card does also let us investigate as well. And it lets us KO cards. It does provide recruit for us. I mean, overall, it's just I think Daredevil Noir could be a very, very strong pick. It also goes all this investigating does go well decently with Kurth, because you can get some extra benefits from knowing what's on top or bottom of your deck. So I think Daredevil Noir could be a good pick. I think also a very, very strong pick could be Luke Cage Noir. He actually has a theme all about 4-costing cards, and pretty much every single one of our common cards are 4-costing. So like Follow Big Leads can give us some really strong recruit boosts, which is very, very good, especially when fighting against Exodus and the Acolytes. Private Investigation lets us draw one of those cards. And what's really nice about 4 cost, that's kind of like, once you hit the 4 cost, you're like, okay, this card's going to have some impact. You know, like 3 and 2 costs are fine. 2 is very efficient and things like that. But I feel like once you hit 4, it's like, okay, I expect at least a little bit oomph, I would say, out of this situation. And Luke Cage Noir just gives us more support in terms of being able to draw more frequently, being able to get benefits of playing all these 4-costing cards. I think he's just a solid fit in this situation. I think another great one, which has sort of the same kind of the same vibe, I would say, is going to be Strong Guy. He lets us investigate for strength cards or X factor cards, which fits really well with multiple mana, I would say. He doesn't help activate those cards, but investigating is always just good in a situation like this. I think Go Big is going to be activated pretty frequently because we have so many 4-drops and we have a handful of 5-drops as well. So I think, yeah, like I said, I think he could do some pretty good strong work, and he also can prevent some wounds. I would say that works pretty well against just some of the things we're going to be facing off against. But yeah, no, I think Strong Guy could be a pretty good pick there. In terms of like, because we do want some tech cards and some instinct cards just to be able to activate multiple man here. I would say like some decent picks I think you can go with comes from the Fantastic Four ability. I think Mr. Fantastic could be a great one. He provides plenty of tech cards at the common slot, but also he just doesn't ask a ton of us. I think we can bring him in and use his cards pretty frequently, and it's not going to mess up our deck too much. Yeah, Mr. Fantastic would be great. Silver Surfer does provide quite a bit of recruit, which we don't have a ton of, I would say, in this situation. I mean, we have a decent amount, actually, now that I think about it, but Silver Surfer is more focused on it. Actually, don't do Silver Surfer. He's not that amazing, but we do have Thing. Thing could be a decent pick here. We already have Invisible Woman to provide us with the Fantastic Four team ability, so we can activate Yancey Street. Then he takes all that recruit, converts it with Knuckle Sandwich, gives us 4 attack off of Crime Stopper. I mean, overall, Thing is just a really strong hero in this situation. He could be a decent pickup. Well, guys, I think that's all I got for pod number 25. Good luck to everybody. Hope you guys see a lot of success, and we'll see you next time. Let's just pop over here and do a quick roundup of pod number 26, which is going to be the last one we're going to go over. There are 3 elimination pods down here. Let's see. Wait, hold on. Pod E3. Yeah, these are all the elimination pods, which are just extra setups if you kind of want to keep playing along. But we're just going to be going over the 4 big ones. And this is Symbiote in the Sky. I can go twice as high. Good little song sections there. Let's take a look. We have Carnage as a mastermind, Detonate the Helicarrier as a scheme. For the villains, we do have Maximum Carnage, Subterranea, and the Phalanx. For the heroes, we have Domino, Colossus, Black Cat, and Thing. And we can select 2 heroes in order to play them. Let's take a look at our special rules. If the space below Doppelganger is destroyed, he must still be fought as normal, but doesn't require any attack to defeat. If a hero is KO'd from the HQ for any reason other than a scheme twist, you still turn them face down as an explosion. Keep in mind, these special rules they're just kind of reminders for rules that kind of get broken pretty frequently, or just frequently ask questions, things like that. They're not actually like additional rules, so keep that in mind. Just a side note, there is no sidekicks in this situation. We don't have none of the available sets actually have those allowed. So I'm going to get some things set up, and then we'll talk about our hero picks here. Okay, let's take a look at a Carnage here. So he's 9 attack, which is pretty low, I would say, for a mastermind. I mean, it's not too rough, I would say. There we go. Master Strike, he's going to feast on each player, which means he's going to KO the top card of your deck. Whenever this Master Strike feasts on a player's zero cost hero, that player is going to gain a wound. Pretty great little dynamic there, because we do want to have the 0 cost cards there to KO, but we're also going to be gaining wounds from doing that. So just something to keep in mind. Only thing of note is that pretty much all of his Master Strike tactics all deal with feast. So just kind of be prepared to know what's on top of your deck. You usually don't want to like recruit a non-gray hero that has wall crawl, put it on top of your deck, and then it just gets KO'd right immediately. Maybe you want to do that just so you don't gain the wound from his Master Strike, but just something to keep in mind. Let's see. Let's take a look at our scheme, and let's detonate the helicarriers. Should be down here. All right, let's take a look at detonate the helicarrier. This is more of a timer. I would say there's not really too much you can do about it. Basically, what's going to happen is there's 8 twists in the villain deck. Whenever you draw one of those, you're going to KO a hero on the left side of the HQ for every single twist you've drawn. And the way the evil wins is when all the HQ spaces are destroyed. Once an HQ space has 6 explosions or 6 heroes are KO'd from it, then the HQ space is basically sealed off and you can't use it anymore. But we're also going to lose if the hero deck runs out. So like I said, we can't really do too much about this situation. It's just kind of a timer that's going to mess with things in the HQ, which isn't fun. Okay, so let's take a look in terms of the other ones. I would for Paint the Town Red, where you got Carnage here, so we want to be doing a villain group, which is maximum Carnage. And the main thing is here is they all are going to do some type of feast mechanic. So we want to have something that has at least a little bit of top deck manipulation, so that we can put some of our gray heroes on top and KO those instead of some of our really good cards. We don't want anything bad to happen. Let's see. Let's take a look at the next one, which is the Subterraneans. I think we've talked about them a couple times, but the Subterranean usually aren't too difficult of a villain group. They generally just keep to themselves. They usually don't ask too much. But man, where are they? I'm talking about them. They're not even here. They're in Fantastic Four. That's what it is. Okay, hold on. Let me go get these guys on screen for you, just in case. The Subterranean is here. They do all have the burrow mechanic, meaning that if the streets are empty, they're going to basically travel there and respawn, basically. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. Just something to keep in mind. We want to have maybe a hero can move some of the villains around, so we can kind of block off the sewers so that they can't burrow, something like that, maybe. And in terms of the henchman, this one is a little bit of a doozy because we're facing up against the Phalanx. And when we fight him, we have to reveal a tech card. If we can't, we're going to have to KO a card with the attack icon, which usually isn't too bad in the early game. You can get rid of your troopers, but that goes away pretty dang quickly when you realize, oh, all of my troopers with that kind of attack all have all have a target on their back basically from this. So just something to keep in mind. We definitely do want some common tech cards in order to prevent that from occurring, I would say. At least we can be in control of it, Okay, we got a couple heroes we got to go over before we make our selection. The first one up, there's going to be a couple of repeats. I mean, I'm assuming you're watching just for your pod, but just in case you're watching the whole thing, there are going to be a handful of repeats here, actually. First up is Domino. She wants us to have some X-Force heroes so we can activate Lucky Break, and she wants us to have some heroes that have both recruit and attack symbols on them so we can get the maximum effort from Specialized Ammunition. This can be in the form of split cards or versatile cards. But she doesn't ask too much of us. I think she's pretty dang great. She provides us some tech cards, which works pretty well against the Phalanx, which is great. But yeah, no, she's a solid hero, pretty much self-contained. Let's take a look at the next one, which is going to be Colossus. Colossus is a great little package for himself that you want to kind of collect all of his cards, because Draw Their Fire gives you 3 attack, but it does give you a wound, and then vulnerability you can use to prevent that from occurring and draw some extra cards, which is great. And Silent Statue, I swear, it just never pops up in my games. I rarely ever see it, but it seems pretty dang formidable, and I hope to see it more often, I would say. But we do kind of want to maximize invulnerability. We want to maybe we could bring in another hero set that does wounds or get some benefits off of it, things like that. Just something to keep in mind. Let's scooch over. Let's scooch over to Black Cat here. Black Cat isn't all that impressive, and she wants us to do some top deck manipulation so we can get maximum effort from Pickpocket. And we can wall crawl the Casual Bank Robbery to the top and then pickpocket it to get that recruit right away, which is a pretty good little combination. But overall, she's not the most impressive of heroes, but I think she can pull her weight if you just have a little bit of a setup. So I think that top deck manipulation hero is definitely what we want to be looking for. and maybe a little tech there, I would say. Let's see. We're also going to do our last one, which is going to be from Fantastic Four. The next one we're going to be talking about is going to be The Thing, which is pretty dang solid, I would say, in terms of ones that have been chosen. We don't have another Fantastic Four hero to work Yancey Street and make it as effective as possible, but he does come with some strength cards, which convert recruit into attack, and overall, it's just a pretty great hero, I would say. Let's see, let's take a look at the next one. Actually, that's all of them. So those are all the pre-selected ones. Let's take a look at some of my suggestions. And honestly, the thing is, this setup really doesn't ask too much of us, I would say. We have a lot of heroes that are just kind of self-contained, and there's not really a bunch of terrible things happening that need to be addressed. So I would just say, one of the heroes I'm going to suggest is, so you can be a little more generic. You don't have to really hunt down specific things. Like, for example, the first one I'm going to go with is Spider-Woman. Most of her cards are pretty generically good. They just, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a strength card, if it's a attack card, it has an attack symbol on it, sweet. If it has a recruit symbol, sweet, we'll draw that. Things like that. But Radioactive Spider does allow us to put cards on top of our deck, so we can kind of time things out just a little bit better if we're in control of that mechanic, and that's what she provides. So Spider-Girl is definitely one I would suggest. I would say if you want to keep activating Yancey Street, I would say like Human Torch could be a really good example, because he does gain us wounds through Hothead, and we can prevent them from call for backup. So if we combine that with Colossus, that should make a nice little pairing there, because we're going to be gaining wounds, KOing them, getting a bunch of extra stuff. I think it's pretty solid. And then, of course, you always have Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic is always amazing. He provides some tech cards, which you guys want in order to fight against the Phalanx. But he's also a pretty popular hero set, I would say, because I bet you a lot of people have already used him up in this tournament. But I think overall he's going to pull his weight and do really, really good. And really, the only other one I have is just another really generic pick, and that's going to be let's see, it's going to be Iron Fist. We do have a decent amount of different costs that could make this card work pretty dang well. We have a decent amount. Yeah, we have a pretty good little spread in terms of cost. We even have some 1-drops, which is really good. That's usually the ones that are hard to get. But yeah, honestly, just this is another setup where I can't really just say like, oh, these ones solve your problems, because there really isn't a ton of problems we have to face. It's just difficult setups in terms of what they do, but there isn't really a catch-all like, oh, I need like every single strength card in order to prevent the bad thing from happening, things like that. This is just a little bit more open of a concept. Well, guys, I think that is going to wrap me up for the night. Hope everything was coherent and wonderful. I'm recording just a little bit later than I normally do, and it was kind of a stressful day. But either way, guys, keep your heads up. Hope you have a great day, and good luck in the tournament for this week.